Hi everyone. I'm Jane from the business of food. I almost reverted to my old business name then, so that was a bit telling. Um, um, over the last 2 months, we've been presenting some series called Lunch Bites, and it really is little bites over lunchtime about how you can manage these working in unusual times and giving some tips and hints about keeping your business alive and managing, the connections that you would normally have person to person online. I hope you found it very useful. Today, I want to take a little bit of a different turn, or different, I'll let you decide that, and introduce you to Vladimir Finn from the Eastern Innovation Business Centre as the entrepreneur in residence there. Hi, Vlad.
Hey Jane, how you doing?
Good. Now, you and I met just before Christmas, I believe, and Danielle Story, who's the GM of the EIBC, has actually introduced us with a view to having a conversation about how my business was changing and how I was handling it. And this was pre-COVID. So, I had some disruption to the business and I wanted to, get my head straight and understand my business plan was still relevant. I must thank Danielle for introducing us because I don't know whether I've said this before, but I actually I resisted another business coach for a while. And I'm so glad that I finally got in touch because we've been working together since March, right?
Yeah, yeah, consistently, and it's been really quite amazing.
Yeah, it has been. It has been. And I'm really glad that, I took that step and got it started, basically. Um, but maybe you can introduce yourself and how you actually were at the Eastern Innovation Business Centre as the entrepreneur in residence, what that actually means, and tell us a little bit about the kind of people that you've met there.
Well, thanks, Jane, and I really appreciate you inviting me on. I've spoken to a few of the people from your community before, and been really nice to jump onto some of your calls, your weekly calls. Um, Really, the Eastern Innovation piece has been quite extraordinary. Danielle and the team have created a network, a real hub focused on innovation that is quite unique. So I've been to so many different places over the last couple of years. Talking with both startups and innovation, and with corporates doing innovation. It's really quite a unique place. And so when I met Danielle, it was I was just coming off a long-term, startup that we were exiting, and I'd never really thought about what mentoring and coaching was. Like it was always we're always doing our own thing and doing startups and working with great people and having mentors. But this, entrepreneur in residence is an interesting role because it's given me the opportunity to actually really give back, which has been great. So I've taken this year and a half now since the last startup, and just to really work with people, and especially with the COVID coming on, with the virus sort of locking everybody down, it's had such a huge impact on people. And having a resource like myself, and now Mark Sims is there as well as the new entrepreneur in residence. As we work with the people there, so much is coming out in terms of resilience and mindset. I mean, as you go through your startups, and I've had a lot. I never thought I would be, an advisor or a coach, to be honest. But you get a lot of both learnings and bruisings, and but building networks, and you really build up. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Or well, I mean, startup and
Oh, yeah.
scaling up. That's like the truth. And so yeah, it's been really quite interesting to help people focus on their mindset, and just really deal with this new situation that's coming. And now as we're sort of coming out of the COVID situation, it's not over, but the impact is so great still. People are trying to work out how are they going to continue, how are they going to, build on what they've had over this period of time, and others are just kind of coming out of a real funk, of like that was
Yeah.
what I was doing. So It's been really broad. Out of the 25 companies that I've been working with consistently, there's about 50 at EI.
Yes.
Of those, most of those 25 that I've been working with closely are really working on themselves, not just the business piece. The founders are taking the time to think about, what is it that's happening for them, how are they,
Yeah.
and some, many of them, when we were going, just getting into it with the conversations we we're having is like, what is the thing that you'll remember about yourself during the time of lockdown? When you look back, what is it that you're going to say? I did that, or what have you achieved in that time? Is it oh, I'm
Yeah.
so afraid and everything was disaster, or it was tough, I was afraid,
And
and
I got
and
over it.
or this is what we did with it, to be able
Yeah.
to do something with it. I think that's important. That's been nearly all mindset related, which is really quite phenomenal. Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where I got a, not it's all about me, but I got a taste of it in December when my business changed significantly. And I think maybe a little better prepared for this shutdown and the way we're working. Um, it actually helped me achieve some of the dreams for the business that had always been in the business plan, but I just needed that, kick to get it started. And I think there's quite a few people that have taken the time to reflect and review on what they've done and whether it's still applicable and whether it's going in the direction that they want to go it in. Would you agree?
Yeah, really, very much so. And, we talk about purpose-driven business all the time. And in a place that is, and if we look at East Innovation, but also the business of food, what you do, and other networks, people are really shifting to, this, what is the purpose of what I do? People are really, really are taking the time to reevaluate because this period has kind of thrown everything up in terms of what are we here for? What is the impact?
Yeah.
People looked at, oh my God, the air is clear in so many countries where they haven't had clear air. Suddenly, what is the impact of the environment? If we can do, at a drop of a hat, like just, a huge impact economically, of course, but like just if we can make such significant change, what
Yeah.
is the purpose? Do I need to be doing the same thing? Do I need to be struggling? Can I be doing something, with a greater vision, And people have really had this conversation a lot, and spending all this time at home, you know,
Yes.
homeschooling the kids, and so there's that, and trying to create a business. Sometimes trying to save the business, you know.
Yes.
Many times, actually, a lot of small to medium businesses have really, really felt the pinch, and those doing deep research and innovation, things have been very unclear. So,
Yeah.
you're working from home, if your partner is working from home, the kids are at home, and if your kids are in primary school, you're homeschooling.
Yes.
And it is tough. It is really hard. So
Yeah.
people have gone, why am I doing this? What is the purpose? So and can we do something better? And it's been very innovative. There's been a lot of very interesting shifts as you have that conversation.
Yeah.
What is it that you're working towards? And then we do that kind of in the coaching. You've experienced it too. When we do what's a different way of approaching it? How do we look at something differently? What is the way to get things moving and continue the action?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where real transformation has been happening during this time. It's been probably one of the most exciting yet tricky, really tricky,
Yeah.
very inspirational. I must say, like really inspirational for humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I've had a couple of those conversations around identifying, the goals that you're working towards now or reviewing the goals that you had before, and then removing those blockages to whatever, is stopping you from achieving those goals. Um, and today you're going to show us two exercises, right? Two tools that you've shown me that I was really impressed with. They really made an impression on me, and I think I'll be using them in my coaching as well as in my own personal circumstances. So, are you happy to share those?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and as I promised you, there's a tool, and there's also a mindset which I really like. And so, whenever I've done any coaching with clients, as we always set up what the expectation is. And I do like to share. It's called the Drama Triangle, and I've got it by Dr. Karpman because I want to make sure I get the name right. So Karpman, the Drama Triangle. And what I'll do, I'll show it to you. And I mean, I'm sure people have seen this, but it's interesting how it plays such a huge part. So can you see the
Yeah.
whiteboard?
I can.
Yeah. So so the drama triangle is just such a simple way of looking at things, but it takes you to a level of insight in about the way that you run your life and how to rethink and or how to reframe that. So in the drama triangle, I sort of draw it this way, and I don't. If it's not exactly as it should be, it doesn't really matter. It's all about the meaning and what you do with it. And so what happens is that most of the time, the way I like to think about it is people live outside of the triangle, like the meaning of this triangle, right? So this is the drama triangle, and people are sort of on the outside of this. And the first one there that I like to talk about is rescue. And it's funny for coaches and mentors when we get involved with clients or we get involved with supporting people or with businesses.
Yeah.
So often, I've caught myself doing it plenty of times. You come in and go, okay, I can rescue you. I can do this. But the funny thing is, it's kind of like it's not just around business. It's about our lives. Like I look at I think I mentioned to you my eldest daughter the other day. It's kind of like there's this huge blow up, and I'm like, yes, I can get in there. We can crack this. And I went in to rescue and like to fix things up, and so but it didn't work, right? Because we're teenagers.
Yeah, of course.
And again, when she hears this, she's going to be like, I can't believe you talked about me. But
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
It's an example.
But when I went to rescue it and it didn't work out,
Yeah.
I was like, I can't believe it. They are hopeless. Like I can't believe, teenagers, unbelievable. And so I was persecuting her. I think that's the term. It's blame. It's like somebody else's fault. And then so then I walked back into the kitchen and I was like, oh my god, I'm such a victim. I can't believe this is happening to me. Like, what kind of a parent am I that I can't even fix an argument? And then one of the others comes in and I'm like, oh look, maybe I can help you out. Like, let's say this is the learning you should have here. So I tried to rescue her, and she's like, oh, Dad, you just have no idea what's going on, blah blah. And then she was persecuting her sister, because she was blaming, it's not me, it's her. And I'm the victim, and you have this kind of round and round. And what's really striking is that for a lot of founders and business owners, especially small business owners, I would show them this because the conversation was very much around, I'm the victim.
Yes.
I can't believe this is happening to me. This is, it's not my fault. This is, look, there's nothing I can do. I wish somebody would rescue me, or, I'm going to do something else and just going to help other people to get over it as well. So you're kind of like in this cycle on the outside, which Dr. Karpman calls the drama triangle. Yeah,
Right.
and the key when we shift our thinking, and this is what I always say, and I know we have with you, and I've done this, with everybody, is that I like to shift it into, instead of rescue, but provide resource. And so instead of that, it's like, okay, not just what is going on, but what can we do about that? Like, what can I give you? So if I can't solve it, who can solve it? Is it something that needs to be solvable? It's a shift in your mind about providing resource to the problem or to the scenario. So, I don't know what's going to happen with COVID. I don't know. Well, if we're sitting down in a coaching session, or a mentoring session, doesn't matter. My question will be, well, where can you find out? So, I'm your resource, but you have lots of other resources. Who else? Can I introduce you to somebody? Because I can't rescue you. You have to do that. That's not, I can't do anything about that. But what resource can I provide? And when I do provide a resource, the shift becomes, instead of persecute, like I can't blame, you're not doing anything, it's like, that's okay. Let's persist. If this works, let's get a rhythm of persistence going. Let's, create a habit. Let's create a process that, create a system that allows you to just keep going and working through things. So you've got resource. Was this resource enough? No, I need more resource. Okay, let's persist. I need some more resource, and it's
Yeah.
back and forth, and you sort of keep working that. And what happens is that if you can create that for yourself, that becomes really powerful. And when you
Yeah.
take, when a situation comes up and you take feedback, instead of being a victim, you sit in this place of vulnerability. And vulnerability isn't about risk, because it sounds, a lot of people have issues with the word vulnerability, but it's really about, it's not the poor me at all. There's no poor me. It's openness to whatever it is. Um, like, this has happened. It's really terrible, and I feel terrible. I feel like a failure. The business is going well. I mean, we've all had it. Like, it's
Yeah.
just, we've got to call it. And the thing is that when we sit on the outside, though, with blaming and being the victim, and then trying to rescue, and with all of that, it's about fixing, and then because there's a problem, you're creating a reality about that problem. You're making it even more real. Whereas when you sit in the vulnerability space, you're being open, and you're open to the feelings that you have. You know,
Mm.
I
Yeah.
felt failure. I felt like the business didn't do what it should be. I felt like failure. I had to fire staff. I felt like failure. I didn't achieve, the wealth that I wanted. My partner is sitting there looking at me. I didn't buy a ticket to this ride, and it's a common conversation actually. Like, especially
Yeah.
in this time, so many of the business owners that I've talked to, outside of EI and in with EI, their partners are going, I didn't buy a ticket to this ride. Like,
Yeah.
why don't you have like a steady corporate job? Why did you have to go and start a startup? And
Yeah.
that's a
If I
conversation.
had a dollar for every time I heard that.
Yeah, that's pretty wealthy. I know.
Yeah, absolutely. I
The
think,
world is no different.
yeah, exactly. I think what you say about business coaches and mentors wanting to rescue people is really powerful for me. That was kind of the light bulb moment, because people do come thinking you're going to rescue them. So it's easy to buy into their mindset. And so both of you are in that same kind of beginning point of they've come for rescue, and you're happy to think you can rescue them. That whole mindset shift is really powerful, though, when you give them the resources to do it for themselves.
Yeah, it really is. People just are able to step into that.
Yes.
The thing that I really love with why I always use that um, as an intention setting exercise when we start is like,
Yeah.
look, this is where I work within this. I promise you that anything that's terrible that's happening, I will not try and rescue. I'll just give you resource. If it's not me, it'll be somebody else. But what we must do is we must persist. We must create the habits. We've got to create that, which is, it's kind of like, I know I've touched on it before, which is a lot of if you live outside the triangle, it's also about external validation, and it's worry about the external. Like, you're focusing on what's happening out, and it's actually impacting how you feel. So your
Yes.
day-to-day feeling, you walk around, whether it be the victim or you're trying to rescue somebody, or you're blaming or persecuting, that is a terrible feeling. But that's one where it's an external like that.
Yes.
Therefore, of course, I feel this way.
Yeah.
Shift when we look inside the triangle and we go, well, okay, this has happened. I am open to new ideas. I'm open to talking. I'm open to feeling terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm open to having a huge cry about the loss of a business I've been working towards for 5 years.
Yeah.
That's okay. So once you sit in that, you go, okay, but what can I do about it? What are the tools I can use? And then what can I do to keep going? And if you do that from the inside out, you
Yeah.
actually feel so much better, and the impact is broader, because the things that come out of working from the inside out actually are significantly different and unexpected.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And once you've taken that on, I think getting then down to practical topics is with almost clearer. Like, you can sit down and just think about your business and think about where you're going with it. And one of the other tools that you showed me was the chunking.
yeah, it's so cool. It's so really, really cool, and it's one of those things where when you do it, you go, "I'll grab the whiteboard again." when you do it, you go, oh, that's kind of obvious. It's like, but what's really cool is that it has the benefit of being able to um, just give you clarity and a moment to think about things to the level of easiest ability to process. So actually, so should always what it's probably worth identifying here. So if you imagine that everybody has kind of like like a line, like a barrier. We'll call it a barrier, yeah. And up here on this axis is your level of abstraction. Like how abstract is an idea? So, or a task, like, so if I say to you, I always like to use this one, this is the most common one. I know I need to do a blog, like people go, I got to do a blog.
Yeah.
I kid you not, you ask me to do a blog, I mean, I've seen them, but the doing of one or creating it is a pretty abstract idea for me. It's like, I'm not exactly sure. So, whereas I know that if I go, let's do a blog for you, like it's quite simple. So there's this natural line, right? There's this natural line that we have as a blocker, which is the point where anything above that line is hard for us to contemplate, and anything that doesn't have certainty in our minds will lead to either procrastination or avoidance or taking a long time. Whereas anything below that is almost so simple that you go, well, did I really need to identify it? It's like, that's easy. And that's what
Yeah.
we want to do. When we do this exercise, it's generally, we do it pretty early on, like, because once we sort of identify what the goals are and what things you're working towards, sort of go, okay, let's, because then very quickly the comment is, I'm having a hard time getting things done. That's nearly always the issue. And this is one of
Absolutely.
those tools that just makes life easy, right? I mean, apart from, unblocking, all the things that whatever, when it comes to practical stuff, this is awesome. And this one here is, the chunking technique, which, you basically say, okay, to do a blog, what are the three things I need to do right now? Or what are the three things I need to do to make it work? And to do a blog, you might need, a point, like a story. You might need some technical knowledge, and you might need maybe, I don't know, some research, so you know what it is you're talking about. So the point you're trying to make, because what you're working towards, I guess, is what is it you're trying to do. And so then and you work through the chunking technique sort of from one side, kind of like that, down, and you just sort of go, and then before you get onto the, because that'll have what, three things. Does that make sense? And same
Yeah.
thing for all of them. But what you do is you start from one side and just work that way and work that down, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it does make sense.
So let me just clear that and then just show what that looks like. So when we're saying, okay, to decide on what it is, what the point is, I might need to, get across the articles, do some, some specific research in the area that I'm talking about. It might be talk to some other people, and it might be, I don't know, like get a structure, for, um, presenting good, concise information, like a start, a
Yeah.
middle, end,
Yeah.
something like
Like a
that.
template.
Like a template, yeah, exactly. And so this might be to watch some previous ones. This
Yeah.
is to read, and this is like maybe the template. And you go, okay, well, so to watch, is that easy? Is that already at its lowest thing? Well, no, I probably want to chunk that down a little bit more. Like, how do I know what is relevant? Like, what are the topics? Where is that information coming from? So you might chunk that down, but as you can see, some of these are already below the line. Yeah, and this, it's just an abstract line that we're showing. It's more around the, anything above that is tricky. Anything
Yes.
below is so easy. It's like, when it comes to the tech, well, that's already easy. You know what that's going to be, right? That's a piece of cake. So that's literally open up my computer, have a microphone, etc., etc. Do I have those things? Yes, I do, and that's my ticks. I'm done. And
Yeah.
what you do at that point is that you take everything that you've chunked down and you create literally just a list. Yeah. So you do your you do your list. This is me writing with my the pencil on the screen. It's really tricky, and
Yeah.
And you just literally break it down to what are the tasks that I have to do like urgently?
Yeah.
That's these ones. What are the tasks I need to do like a little bit later? And what are the tasks that are just not urgent at all? And you bring that up from doing it in the order of once you've chunked it down. Once it's at a point where it's not at that abstract level, but it's actually really, really clear.
Yeah. It's real.
It's real, and it makes your life just so easy. And you can do it for anything. If I'm going, it doesn't have to be a blog. It can be, I want to solve world hunger, So, okay, world hunger. I mean, this is an example people love to use. What are the three things I need to do? Well, I
Yeah.
need to understand, where the hunger biggest issues are that I want to play with.
Yeah.
I need to make sure I've got support financially, and I need to make sure I've got a team that can deliver it. Okay, next level down. Where do I find? Where do I find? And it builds down.
Yeah.
But strangely, for me, that seems like an unachievable task.
Oh, yeah.
But for others, like the Gates Foundation,
Yeah.
that's not for them. Their level of ability to deal with that sort of question is much higher. That they for them, they know exactly what that means, and
Yeah.
so they quickly take action to execute on these things, which for you and I might be different. And so I guess what's important is that that barrier, you know, um, that belief that you can do what
Yeah.
is required is different for everybody, and it's different at different times. And
Yeah.
when we showed on the triangle the persistence piece,
Yes.
with persistence, as you do this, a couple of things happen. One is by doing this one, you've cleared out this and you've cleared out this whole thing, because actually that task feeds all the way up. Like suddenly you
Yeah.
remove tasks that need to happen, but also that persistence of working through this lifts this bar. Because next time I ask you, it will be much easier. You already know. And the next time you do it again, it'll be even easier. In fact, you'll get to some point where you go, oh yeah, I need to do a blog. My action is blog. That's
Yeah.
it. Whereas right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah. Yeah.
your action is what kind of microphone do I need?
Yeah. Exactly.
Which
But
is
you're right. Once you've got it all, it's a great feeling to have that bar raised, and suddenly it feeds into your confidence and your well into everything that your goals suddenly get bigger is what I'm trying to say.
That's right. And look, if I was to, I mean, we do a lot of things when we work through together. There are some tools that are absolute universal, and the first universal one is just have your mindset in kind of like this. It's a growth mindset, abundance and so forth. But using that triangle gets you out of the drama and into, okay, what resource, what repetition, and am I open?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you can also see with it when you work with others, where am I sitting? Oh man, I tried to rescue them. Damn, no wonder it didn't work. No wonder I feel how I feel, because you're in.
Yes.
And then if you can chunk down your tasks
Yeah.
and put them into a list of, urgent, not so urgent, and really keep that in my mind, that kind of thing, without
Yeah.
going into detail, but that's a good sort of progress. You have that list to execute. It's really, really lets you be very efficient, makes it
Yeah.
more efficient and
Yeah.
effective. It really works.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vlad. So two great tools, and working in conjunction with each other, I think they're really powerful. So I think mindset has a lot to do with the procrastination and blockages that people are feeling at the minute, and I think turning that on its head was a really useful
Yeah.
methodology.
Jane, if I was to kind of summarize it, and things that I've learned from others, it's nothing, not revolutionary from my mind. It's but it is revolutionary in its practicality. Uncertainty is the thing. So if you can crack uncertainty by providing resources, do repetition, and being open to ideas, and just reduce the level of uncertainty, things move. Yeah, like
Yeah.
procrastination is often related to just not sure what am I going to do next, or why am I doing things. So that chunking technique removes so much uncertainty, because you can do. I can't do a blog, or I can't do social media,
Yeah.
but I can open my emails, or I can email Jane, or I can get the microphone.
Find a pen and paper.
Yeah, it's kind of that. So you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
break it into little steps, remove uncertainty, and get you moving. It's really good.
Fantastic.
Mm.
Thanks for sharing that today, Vlad. I found it really useful, in our conversations, and I'm hoping that the listeners will find it and use it, or at least come to you for some help to, use those tools properly.
Thanks.
Because
And yeah,
I'm assuming that's an opportunity, right?
it is. And like I said
Good.
to you, and like I've done with Eastern Innovation, people, people are welcome, absolutely welcome to come. And I do have room to make sure that we work with people, especially from your community.
Fantastic.
So absolutely happy to provide that. And we always do a couple of sessions where we just sort of work through things to make sure that there's something there, and we're always focused on getting impact. So it doesn't need to be a cost concern. It's something that I'm happy to provide back to your community with it when I can. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I'll include some contact details in our blog and in the YouTube channel, so that you can contact Vlad if you need some help. Thanks for your time today, Vlad, and thanks for everyone for listening. Next week, we're looking at talking to, a social media expert, and that should be very useful, I think, in coming out of this hibernation that we've been in until now. So, thanks for listening. Hope to see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.